We're going to be going over leading line. So leading line are lines that lead our viewer into a particular direction. So you can see here from the right side, leading the viewer to this person in the snow. Here, this roller coaster leading us from left to right in the frame, or here in the parachute, leading us to the center. This bridge going from left to right, or here we have the leading lines or diagonal leading lines. And here we see this building, we have leading lines, or the leading lines in this James Bond slide or still. We saw this slide earlier. This was a merger, but now we're calling leading lines from the left to the right. So these rays of color leading us right to the tailpipe, or the leading lines of this railroad track, or even this bridge. And you're like, well, which line? There's so many lines. I know there are, right? So we have, even the dog has a viewpoint leading look, but also the leading lines to this main character. Or here's another bridge from another movie still, and another movie still from Indiana Jones on the bridge, leading us to the main character of Indiana Jones. Or the leading lines of the stairwell, leading us from left and going in a circular pattern. Or even the leading lines of the railroad track, and a bridge leading lines, and more leading lines of the track. But as I said before, you can have more than one compositional element in one frame. What other compositional elements do you see in this photograph? Even here, the stork capturing the fish, the leading lines leading us to the fish from the beak. We also have leading looks. So here is where a person or a thing is looking in one direction, leading us to look at where they want us to. So it's leading and guiding us with their look. So here we have an asymmetrical leading look. And this is from our book. The image on the left is symmetrical. The image on the right is asymmetrical. It means that there's not enough room for the person to breathe. They're right past the middle point. The same thing, leading look doesn't have to be a person. It can be a car, it can be a plant. So here we have an unbalanced leading look, and then with the plant being pushed more to the left, it'll be balanced. So leading look, but this can also be other items like pattern, contrast. Here we have a look. We also have a leading lines. We have so many things. Here's over the shoulder leading look. Here from the Lion King, a leading look. Where are they looking at? Looking at the baby pup being born. Then we have balance of elements, or also called balance of masses. So we know that the object on the right is bigger. And so in a teeter-totter, it should be off balance, but it's not. Now, what does that mean? So an object could be bigger, compare that to a smaller object, but visually it appears balanced. So the sign and this building. We know this building is much bigger and weighs more than the sign, but the way it's photographed, they're balanced. This rock and these other kind of large rock formations balance out, or some other more rocks in the ocean. And from our book, we can see a house and a person, a butterfly and a plant, and a person's head and the other person's whole body sitting on a chair. These all balance out. balance of masses. So here we know one hummingbird is not as much mass-wise as two hummingbirds, but when we extend the wings outward, the masses balance out. A building in a tree, same thing. Here's another building in a tree. They kind of balance each other out, even though we know they don't really. The physical weight. So here we have like a barn and a mountain. Now here we have just one element, so this does not balance out, just one single desk. But here, once again, the object may be bigger than the other object to its on the other side, but they balance out. Then we have balance of color. So here we have a bright, let's say it's a yellow flower and a pot. They're off balance because the masses of the flower and the pot balance out. But the brightness of the flower, say it was yellow, compared to, say, a dead black plant. Now, if on the other hand, both items were both yellow and the same color, then these would be balanced out, so balance of color. Now, if the brightness of the flower is balanced by placing a larger mass on the other side of the frame, it doesn't matter if they're the different color, but the masses are balancing out, so balance of mass. If you can envision here, say it was a red wall and the person was standing next to it, our eye would be drawn to that red wall. But say if we change that wall to, say, a white wall, our eyes will ignore that white wall and go to that person. Here, just what I talked about, the red wall. Now we have this bride against the white wall. Our eyes are drawn to the right side of the bride. Then we have pattern and repeating pattern. So if you wanted to have this person pop against the background, what would you show? What would you do? So some may say change the background or have change what the person is wearing. So here, the background color, she's wearing a black top against a black background, and you can just see her head, and we can focus on her violin and her face. The same thing, background problem, background solution. We have it at f2.8, so we have shallow depth of field, and so she is popping against the background. Same thing here. We can see the colors of this gentleman. They're very similar to the background, but because we have a shallow depth of field, the person is in focus and the background is out of focus. Same thing as I said before, background problems and background solution. What would you do to make him pop against the background? Because right now, what is happening to him and the background? He's merging with the background because the color of the fabric is the same as the background. Color and color choices. So here, contrast and colors, blue and orange work really good together.